Like to go ahead and 6 o'clock, let's go ahead and open our council meeting. It is Tuesday, April the 13th. I'd like to call this meeting to order pursuant to Governor's Executive Order number 78. And in light of the COVID-19 pandemic, the open public meetings of the Algood City Council are being held via electronic means with limited public access. And we do have a number of people with us here in the audience this evening. But if you are following us on Facebook, then please do so. If you have any comments or questions, go ahead and submit those as you are watching. As we usually do, we have an invocation and pledge before we actually get down to business. And I would ask Mr. Morrison if he would be kind enough to lead us in prayer. And I would ask Councilman Luke Hill if he would lead us in the pledge. And I ask that you all stand, please.
With our heads, most gracious and loving Heavenly Father, we come to you with bowed heads and thankful hearts. Thank you for another day, Lord. We thank you for the many blessings of life. We thank you for watching over our community and keeping us safe throughout these weather storms that have come through in recent weeks, Lord. We pray that you continue to watch over our community. Lord, we pray for those that are sick, Lord, that you'd reach down and touch them. Place those that's been touched by death, that you give them comfort in their time of need. Pray for those that are lost, most of all, Lord, that they'd be saved before it's everlasting too late. Pray your blessings upon this board, that you'd lead and guide and direct them as we continue to work to move the city forward. It's in your name we ask these many things. Amen. Please flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Please take a seat. Ms. Flatt, if you'd be so kind as to call the roll.
Honorable Mayor Fowler.
Here.
Honorable Vice Mayor Bilbrey.
Here.
Honorable Councilman Graves.
Here.
Honorable Councilwoman Hawkins.
Here.
Honorable Councilman Hill.
Present.
I would ask the council members now if they would consider approval of the agenda as it is presented. And secondly, if you've had a chance to look over the minutes of our last meeting, and ask if there's any corrections or additions that we need to make to that, please let me know.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, I guess, Ms. Flatt, you can call the roll, but
Mayor Fowler.
yes.
Vice Mayor Bilbrey.
Yes.
Honorable Graves.
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins.
Yes.
Honorable Hill.
Yes.
And I would go ahead and move that we approve the minutes of the council meeting held on March the 9th of 2021. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Bilbrey. And Ms. Flatt?
Mayor Fowler.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bilbrey.
Yes.
Honorable Graves.
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins.
Yes.
Honorable Hill.
Yes.
Well, we don't have quite so many ordinances this evening as we did last month, but I'm going to ask that the council look over ordinances 661-21, 662-21, and 663-21. And since we are going to be going into those in more detail later in the meeting, I would consider a motion to approve the suspension of the reading of those ordinances at this time.
I'll make the motion.
All right, Mr. Bilbrey's made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Hawkins, now Ms. Flatt.
Mayor Fowler,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bilbrey.
Yes.
Honorable Graves,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins.
Yes.
Honorable Hill.
Yes.
All right, item number 4, consider approval to purchase a 2020 John Deere 35G compact excavator with trailer for $53,600 under our Sourcewell Joint Purchasing membership. And you should have received those specs and the quotes that we received on that. Is there anything particular, Mr. Morrison, that we need to know about this item other than we need it or we want it or?
This can come out of the utility fund. It does include a trailer and 2 buckets. This is on the lot in Cookeville at Tri-Green currently. And this is a pre-bid price. So all of this is part of the Sourcewell Joint Purchasing Alliance that we can utilize through state law to help us get these items. And so it fits with the other equipment we already have. We purchased a skid steer last year. The intent for this piece of machinery is to reduce the usage on the backhoe and try to extend the life of that machinery. We do have 2 backhoes in stock, but it does see quite extensive use, so this would help to alleviate some of that extra use on the backhoe.
Thank you.
Comes with warranty? I assume 1 year? 2?
Yes, a 1, 2, or 3 year.
2?
2, yep. We didn't extend the warranty on that one. So.
And do a once over, Keith, as to how we're taking monies out of the utility fund because we're over, or we're coming in under budget on the utility. Do that one more time. How we're planning on paying for it.
This will come out of capital outlay purchase for the water sewer fund. Hang on, I'll give you a current number of where we're at. Of course, we'll add depreciation to the schedule to take this on, but currently we are $221,000 to the good in the utility fund at this time.
Does anyone have any questions about bids or about the purchase of this piece of equipment?
All I can say, that's an excellent price.
This will allow us to, since we already have John Deere filters and oil and things of that nature, makes sense to stay with John Deere. The other intent is hopefully reduce in the work path how much we tear up with this machine. It's a smaller machine, easier to work with. So I think that will alleviate some cleanup issues and some smaller projects.
Any other questions, comments? All right, I would entertain a motion to approve the purchase, or if that's what the council wishes, or if you feel ready to move forward with this, or if not.
I make a motion we purchase.
All right, the motion's been made by Councilman Bilbrey.
I'll
Is-
second.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. And Ms. Flatt?
Mayor Fowler,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Graves,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins.
Yes.
Honorable Hill.
Yes.
All right. Number 5 is ordinance number 66121. This is an ordinance to amend section 8-201 of the alcoholic beverage portion of the Allgood Municipal Code. It was passed on first reading at our last meeting. This is making or establishing the beer board as to be filled by the council. The council is going to serve, if this is passed on second reading, as the beer board. This will streamline things and we'll keep, if we need to have a meeting, we can do it while we're here for the council meeting. And I don't remember having to have a beer board meeting called in several, well, I shouldn't say maybe several years, but it's been a while. So that doesn't mean there won't be one tomorrow, but as of today, since it is second reading, I would ask if there's anyone here who would like to comment about the adoption of this ordinance, making the council or allowing the council to serve as the beer board. Are there any comments or questions? Yes, sir.
First of all, I think it's very important that it be elected officials that serve on the board. You folks are elected by us, the people. That way it keeps us out of partisan issues, and I really appreciate that you guys are willing to take that task on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other comments? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing portion and ask that I would entertain a motion that we approve ordinance 661-21, whereby establishing the beer board as also the council will serve as the All Good Beer Board.
So moved.
Mr. Graves, is there a second?
Second.
I'll say Councilman Bilbrey had that one. Okay. Ms. Black?
Mayor Fowler,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Graves,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins,
Yes.
Honorable Hill.
Yes.
Okay, item number 6. Consider approval of first reading ordinance 662-61, creating a new department head, Parks and Recreation Director. I know this was discussed at some length, I guess, at the work session, but this is a proposed ordinance that we would create a new department head, that of a Parks and Recreation Director. Whereas the City of Allgood Charter Section 2.07 requires the creation of a new office or department of the city be created by ordinance. And whereas the city intends to continue the expansion of its park system and create a well-managed system, that it's requested that the mayor and council of the City of Allgood that create this position, that a new department head. The Parks and Recreation Director shall be created as an exempt, salaried employee of the City of Allgood, overseeing the Parks and Recreation Department. This ordinance would not take effect until after the second and final reading. As I understand it, this department head would be on the same plateau, I guess, or under the same organizational chart as we have now, which my understanding is that you have the council, and then we have Mr. Morrison, the city manager, and then we have department heads that all answer, lucky you, to Mr. Morrison. I know that we have several things that we need to consider regarding this Parks and Recreation. We have a 21-acre park that will soon, hopefully, begin to look like a park. We have the White Plains House. We have the grounds here at City Hall. We also have the little park over by the tennis courts. And we will also have, and Mr. Morrison, feel free if I've left something out, we may take over July 1, the, what I call the ball fields, the, where the T-ball and all that's set up over there by the community center. Have I left out, events? I forgot that that's gonna come under that umbrella.
We do. We have the rail trail, and we also have the farmers market and the community center that are maintained and kept up.
So will this position be tasked with like maintaining the property as well? I mean, mowing and all of that stuff.
Maintenance on the fields,
Right.
Overseeing the operation of whatever's occurring on those facilities, whether it be T-ball and baseball, or whether it be the Cookeville Youth Football. They would be in charge of overseeing, the use of the fields for those organizations, and not tasked with being a voting member of the board, but being on the board so that they're aware of what's going on within those organizations. So all of those items would fall under that.
Who's maintaining it now? Ball fields.
Putnam County Parks and Recreation.
But do we have to kick in some monies toward that, don't we?
We do. We give $7,000 something a year for maintenance, and they mow and keep them up.
Okay. And that's something, especially with this equipment that we have, that we can now undertake.
Yes. Now we'll need, we'll probably need a tractor with a front bucket and just a few things to keep the fields up. When the new park comes online, we're going to need people to take care of it. Putnam County Parks and Rec isn't going to be able to take on that new task. So part of the idea by creating this department head was that with the new park coming online, and if we take the ballparks back, and we've got the rail trail and the farmers market and the White Plains home, that's a pretty good undertaking to keep up with.
You gentlemen have any questions or anything? Everybody's good? Okay. I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve on first reading ordinance 662-61, which is creating, well, one of mine says 61 and one says 21. Let me see.
Should be 21.
Okay.
Typo.
That's okay. 662-21 to create a new department head, which would be a Parks and Recreation Director. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Ms. Hawkins has a second. So, Ms. Flatt, would you call the roll?
Mayor Fowler,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Graves,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins.
Yes.
Honorable Hill.
Yes.
Item number 7 is to consider approval to purchase fire department turnout gear and air packs not to exceed $52,000, also under our bidding contract with Sourcewell and HGAC. I do understand that we need some more turnout gear, that if I understood correctly, that there is just a lifespan on those things and they have to be rotated out every so often. I want to say, is it 10 years, Mr. Morrison?
That's correct.
Okay. And we also hope that we have others that would perhaps join our fire department, and we would need turnout gear for them as well. How do we know how many or how many sets of this, or are we just trying to decide and to keep it under this amount, or do we have a specific number?
When I first started putting the agenda together, I didn't have it narrowed down to a specific amount, so I was still waiting on some bids to come in. Once the bids all came in, the actual turnout gear itself, which is coat and pants, boots, a Nomax hood, gloves, and a traditional standard helmet with shield, is $24.54.71 a set. A Scott Air Pack SCBA, which is the face mask and breathing apparatus with voice amplifier and the proper head net and carbon fiber bottles. So there's 2 carbon fiber bottles, is $91.76.09 a set. So we were looking at purchasing 3 complete sets of air packs with 2 bottles and 10 sets of turnout gear for head to toe. The total price on that actually came to $52,075.37. So that's 10 turnout gears and 3 complete air pack SCBA kits with 2 carbon fiber bottles. We can trim that back and make it stay under $52,000. That won't be difficult to do. I can drop a couple of the Nomax hoods and make that work. But the actual price, if we did it, all 10 turnout gears with 3 complete SCBA packs, would be $52,075.37. So whichever way you all choose to go.
And is it also, is this something we can do kind of like our fleet plan, and so we can buy so many this year and then perhaps so many next year, and as we can rotate in and out that way, so it's not such a big hit all at once?
We can, and that's the intent, is to get this caught up this year and next year. And then the third year, we can probably take a year off, and then the year after that, start buying about 2 sets a year and try to minimize this cost to where as we replace equipment, it's not such a big hit. The other thing, too, with the long-term plan is not all firefighters are the same size, so by buying 2 sets a year, as we get farther down the road, if I have a different size firefighter, I've got a couple of sets that year that I can outfit them in. So this will be more financially, make more sense for us, long range, and just trying to get caught up right now.
Are we getting any new turnout gear with the truck?
The turnout gear on the truck is going to be 5 SCBA masks and 10 bottles.
Oh, okay.
So there'll be some on the truck. So we focused more on turnout gear this time than the SCBA packs because we knew we had 5 sets coming with the truck already.
Okay.
And the way that truck is set up is those packs are built into the seat, so as you're climbing in the truck and going down the road to get to the fire, you can already be suiting up on the way. And you all should have pictures of that truck from last Friday. We've got a cab on a chassis now, so.
I'll make the motion to approve 52075, I think is what he said,
37.
for the 10 packs.
I second.
Ms. Platt, would you call the roll?
Mayor Fowler,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Graves,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins,
Yes.
Honorable Hill.
Yes.
Item number 8, to consider approval to purchase a Motorola repeater and an EMR duplexer from Communications Direct for $7,010, and that includes the estimated shipping cost of $148. As most of you know, we have some of our antenna equipment on top of the water tower, and when we remove those from the water tower, we are going to need, I guess, some newer equipment and more update equipment. Is there anything, Mr. Morrison, that we need to know other than that?
We searched about 4 or 5 companies trying to find the best price. This was the best price I could come up with on these 2 components at this time. What we'll do with these 2 components is go ahead and stage them with the current frequencies and set that up so that as soon as the switch goes off at the water tower, the new tower can be turned on and the frequency will be limited as to how long they're down, so it should be as if they never even went down. Once we take the other one down, we'll move it into the system too, and we'll have the 2 additional channels.
Now, does this system also, I mean, I know police, I would think, would use it, fire department, all city, radio traffic, are they all contained in this one?
Not on this type. The city frequency is still not a digital channel. Fire and the sheriff's department and our police department are on the 2 channels that are on the current repeater. So they will remain on the new repeater, and then this old repeater will be switched to 2 additional channels. One is a backup, and we'll upgrade Public Works to a digital channel because we're having a harder time getting radios to work on the old system, and it keeps failing more and more. So this will upgrade that radio, and so all 3 will then be on the digital plus 1 backup channel.
So what I heard you say is we're going to have to do this irrespective.
Pretty much, yes. We're just using the opportunity to go ahead and put the 2 channels that we currently have on it and prep it, so as soon as it goes up, we can basically just toggle switches and switch over, and then we'll make the change for Public Works because it's not as drastic as having the police and fire down. We can be without Public Works for a day or 2 to move that stuff over.
What's the time frame on, if we get this, how does this move us toward getting it off of the water tank and moving on with getting the water tank down?
So we currently have a tower that the chief got that we're moving over there and working on pouring concrete and anchors to run that up. We'll have to order cable, and they didn't really give me a timeline on how long it would take this to come in. They have to program it, and I'm assuming they have it on the shelf. So my guess is to get all of this done and have that tower ready to come down, the tank would be within 6 months.
Will that radio, that tower, will it stay on the portable tower, or will we put a permanent pole up there?
The intent was to leave it on the portable tower. That way if we need to maintenance it, we could just lower it down, maintenance, and run it back up, but we can always switch it over later if we want to.
I know in the military we had problems during the storms, them things coming down.
Well, it's got locks and cables, and we'll secure it. It's
Yeah.
got tie-ons and all that, so.
Okay.
Be just as secure as it is on the water tower now, wouldn't it?
We think it will. We've talked to 911. They think that what we're planning will work fine, so they don't see an issue with it, especially if we guy it down like we're planning on doing and give it proper support. I don't think it's going to be an issue.
Okay. All right, I'll consider what the council would like to do regarding the proposed repeater and purchase.
I'll make the motion that we purchase those.
Okay. Mr. Graves has made the motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Mr. Hill. Ms. Platt?
Mayor Fowler,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Graves,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins.
Yes.
Honorable Hill.
Yes.
Item number 9 is to consider approval on first reading of ordinance 663. Now, this one says 663-61. adopting the budget for the next fiscal year 21-22 with the tax rate to be set as the returned certified tax rate, which we understand that that's not yet been determined. But we can go ahead and adopt the budget as it is presented and take care of that when they let us know what the certified tax rate's going to be. Is that all correct, Mr. Morrison?
That's correct. So it is in reappraisal right now. The county property assessor, Steve Pierce, has agreed to come over and kind of explain this certified tax rate process with you all. It usually takes into August, may have been September last time. This happens once every 5 years, and it's supposed to offset increases in reappraisal so that we basically kind of level off our tax rate through the state. And so all of the cities will be facing this as we move into the year. So I reached out to the comptroller's office, asked them if it's acceptable to adopt this as we will receive the certified tax rate, and he said yes, and that when it come in, we would officially adopt that rate once we receive it, and this would be acceptable at this time.
Waiting for us this evening, you had a new form out. Was there any substantive changes, or were you just providing an additional document here?
No, this was the updated numbers that I gave you last night.
Okay.
So the general government appropriations are $1,130,095. Police department's $1,240,637. Fire department's $147,325. Community center and parks is $889,583. Public works is $527,333, and sanitation's $525,426. It does include all the capital projects that we discussed: the purchase of the police cars, phase 1 of the park at the 21-acre park. Total expenditures for the general fund are $4,460,399. That is $1,122,511 over revenues. Again, you know, for this current fiscal year, we originally estimated $534,000 of overage. As of the end of March, we were actually $29,000 in the black, so we're in good shape. Of course, we've got some expenditures that will come out, but I don't think we'll ever reach the $534,000 as we continue to monitor the funds. Drug fund, cemetery fund didn't change. State street aid fund did not change. Water sewer, I updated that. Total cash receipts or revenue is $2,351,950. That does include a $50,000 grant for the I&I study. It also includes $150,000 from the county for the Green Mountain project. Total appropriations, including depreciation, are $2,873,408. And then we've got $745,000 worth of capital projects, and the debt principal payments will actually make our net position on the utility fund would actually show an increase for next year of $319,000. And so that's because of the capital projects. Of course, we'll start showing depreciation on those once they complete. So those numbers will change a little bit.
I guess from my perspective, I'm struggling a little bit with this. You said an overage of almost $500,000 for this year,
Right.
and $1 million plus for next year.
Right.
What, $1 million, $2 million?
$1,122,000.
Okay.
675,000 of which is the park phase 1.
That's a pretty big step in my mind.
It's a huge number.
And what I'm struggling with is with attached to the budget, there's a page that I would call a wish list. It's got about 15, 20, 30 items on it. And I've said this to individuals before, but it reminds me of my day at the Department of Energy, where every year we went through a budget process, and our instructions were, put your wish list together before we go to Washington, D.C., and everybody accumulates everything they can, and you go to Washington and get in front of a committee and you make your best presentation, and the committee looks at you and say, good luck, buddy, you might get one item off that list. I think we're going to have to look at their wish list a little bit closer. That's my opinion. I guess I'm a little more conservative than this budget.
We'll cut anything that you all wish to cut. Our goal is to always be in the black. You know, that's one of the things that I work hard to try to do each year. Whatever you guys choose to approve, I can assure you we will live with it and we will make the best of it. And I will do my best to make sure that we continue to move the city forward. So however you all wish to proceed or whatever you wish to cut, we'll make do. I can't promise you the moon, but I'll make do and do the best I can with it.
But to be fair in your budget, though, it does. I mean, the way I'm seeing this, and I echo the same concerns. You know, $1.2 million over for next year. But I mean, you look at what we're getting from it. We're getting substantive construction projects. We're getting the park started, and that's huge. Do you anticipate, you know, this $1.2 number to go into the next fiscal year?
It's a
Or
possibility.
somewhere
Some of it could. I wouldn't think the park would take that long to complete, but you know, depending on what happens with weather and things of that nature, some of it could be carryover. Some of the bigger items, even though they're reducing your cash balance, they don't reduce your net balance because you're doing land improvement, so that becomes a net positive in the end, even though you're having to show it as a depreciation. Now, if we continue to do this for several years, you're going to make me really, really nervous. I can't keep this up for several years, I assure you. And looking at this year's number, you know, we were projected to be $500,000 in the red. We're still in the black right now, so I try to manage that as best we can and minimize the hits. But of course, we do have some things that we're going to have to accomplish with the budget. The $675,000 on phase 1 of the new park is a big hit. You all asked about the rubber surface cost, so I got a cost estimate for that. When you talk about 13,500 square feet of surface, the sidewalk for concrete's about 50 to 60,000. When you change it to rubber surface, the cost estimate goes to 120 to 170,000. So those are going to all be things that you have to take into consideration. So, but again, whatever you guys want to do, I'll make the best I can of it, and we'll do something. So we're willing to cut whatever you guys ask me to cut.
I guess I'm disturbed by our rainy day fund. If $6 million is something, and now it's going to end up $5 million.
Right. It's
Or
about
4.9.
6,000,007, and it's going to end up a little over 5
And
million.
you do that a couple of more years, you don't have one.
That's right. And we do pride ourselves on that because that's about 2 years of operating expense. So keeping that cushion is a comfortable place to be, especially with this last year of all the uncertainties and the COVID and not knowing what to expect. We've been able to comfortably operate and run without really any concern. So when you start dipping down into that too far and you only get 6 months of reserve, that's not a good place to be.
And there's no issues with changing the budget from first reading to second. I'm looking at Danny here.
I would suggest that. So if you have concerns about cutting some expenses, if you approve it on first reading tonight, there's nothing to say that during the intervening month before you do second reading that you can impose some of those cuts. So that's definitely something to consider, and that keeps your budget process on track.
Thank you.
We do want to have something done by June 1, correct? Isn't that when the comptroller likes for us to have it done?
Well, I would like to have it done by the May council meeting.
I'm sure you would.
Because there's several other documents that I have to put together based on these numbers. So every time we make a change, I have to go back through 3 sets of documents and update them. So if we can kind of make a list, get them changed, and then I'll go do the updates. But if you all tell me whatever you want, we'll make it happen.
Well, nobody wants to run in the red. And I agree with Mr. Graves that keeping a nice, healthy, and I know some people might think that's overly healthy, fund balance is good for the city because, that affects our credit rating and affects our bond issue if we should do that. So, I am concerned too about going to the piggy bank once too often. But we also need to prioritize, I guess, again, as Mr. Graves was saying, what we want, what we have to have and what we can work with, I suppose.
Is there a danger zone where we get too low? I know some bond issues arise when you dip too low. Do we know what that number is?
I don't know what that number is. I know the comptroller likes for you to have at least 6 months worth of operating in reserve. We've always been in the 2-year, 6-month operating. So it's never really been a concern. When we bought the parkland, you were talking that year, we spent about $1 million that was unbudgeted and unplanned. It was amended in the middle of the year. And when I called our person at the comptroller's office, she liked to have stroked out when I told her that first number. But then when we kept talking and I gave her what our cash fund balances was, she says, oh, well, you're not one of the ones I have to worry about. Now I don't want to get to be one of the ones they have to worry about. So monitoring that and keeping that number healthy is always a goal. When I first came here, we had just finished this building, which is about a $2.5 million project. And within a couple of years, we had put that money back in general fund reserve. So as long as we kind of look at these down the road and we know what's coming up, which is part of why I do that 5 and that 10-year plan, so that you all know where the equipment's at, how much it's going to cost, and what we're looking at down the road. We can take 1 year and do a few things. We just got to be careful the next couple of years and make sure we don't keep doing that.
So once the budget's approved, if we do that, I mean, the big thing for me is, yeah, we're going to the well here, and we're dipping into it for the park, right? We're going to get started. Once the budget's approved, when can the park get started?
This budget goes into effect July 1st. You all have preliminary plans on the bathroom. We're working on final bidding documents, so as we continue to work through that and get that document finished, we hope to have it bid and work starting in July. If we continue to work that direction, that's the goal. Now, I haven't heard what how long it would take to do the project. I haven't gotten an estimate time frame on that yet because we're still putting all the documents together, but we would hope to have it going really quick.
It'd be nice just to be able to go over and see it bush hog.
Just to use. Yeah, go fly a kite.
Yeah.
Kick ball.
So our takeaway here is just that this is our first pass at the budget, first reading, and if there are tweaks in between now and then, the tweaks can happen, but next is a final reading with public hearing, and that's that.
Now, I assure you, I'm not going to try to spend all of that $1.122 million over, so.
Doubt you there. We know that you're conservative and you look for a bargain and you're the...
We pinch every penny, so.
Yeah.
If y'all want to approve it tonight and send me emails with what you want me to cut, you all have an outline of the budget of what's in it, and just tell me what you want taken out of it, and I can make that happen.
I don't have any problem with that as long as that keeps us on track and we have things done and submitted by the deadline.
Is there any way we can get a prioritization of what you think can and can't be cut? I mean, that would be helpful for us to know, you know, for safe and efficient operations of the city. You know, what is something we can cut versus something that we just, you can't get rid of. And I don't know if
We've kind of went through that, but I can give you some ideas. LBJC roof cannot be cut.
We gotta do that.
If you want to cut my truck, you can cut it. If I have to give up my truck I'm driving now to keep us going, I'll drive my personal truck. I can go through and give you a list of things that we can cut if you want to do it. We can try to trim the fire department equipment back, get a closer number. Yeah, I mean, I can cut it back some. I can't cut it back a whole lot. But or you can give me a number and I can try to hit that target. If you tell me what you think the maximum overage that you all are willing to vote for is, we can do it that way. But I can go through, and that's why I gave you that list, is so you kind of know really what the big items are. We cut the excavator off tonight because you're purchasing it out of this budget. So I've been trying to look for ways to continue to make this budget a little more palatable and not so rough. The water sewer department, you really don't have much choices. Those projects need to move forward at this point. So I wouldn't recommend cutting anything off of those. But the general fund, there are probably some areas that we can chip away at if I know kind of what my target is, or I can send you things that I think from top to bottom can be cut first and work our way down.
I guess when I look at the wish list, I see but really three people's names. I mean, yours and Victor's and Dale's, and I think it's fine to want as much as we want to do, but sometimes I don't think it's practical to get what we want. So, you know, I guess I'm sort of following up on Luke. It would be helpful to us if the ones that requested some of this would look at it and say, yeah, I can do with a little less. That would help us a little bit, instead of us just randomly saying we don't want this, we're just gonna cut the whole item out.
Right.
But there's trucks and there's all kinds of things, you know, people and all kinds of things wrapped up in all of this. And I guess I would be more comfortable if we could cut some of it down anyhow.
Okay.
I'd like to say that I appreciate Mr. Morrison offering about his truck, but if he gets in a wreck in a personal vehicle, my job gets a whole lot harder, a whole lot faster. So I think city employees need to be driving city vehicles, so.
We might have to buy him one of these little John Deere.
We can get him a smart car.
All electric.
You can drive a Gator.
There you go.
Did we just buy an excavator? I mean,
That's a slow ride home.
And the brush truck won't get you there, right?
It will, but that's a big truck to park in the driveway. I can drive a garbage truck home if I have to.
That's on the list, though. we got to have another garbage truck. So, hey.
Some of the things, too, that we put on here, like the garbage truck, when you start delaying purchase, you start increasing repair lines in other areas. So we try to balance those. Where's the cut? Where does it make the most sense? What can I get the most use out of? So, for instance, the 5 and 10 year plan has a brush truck on it for next year. One of the ideas is that the Freightliner garbage truck that we have now, that would no longer be needed as a garbage truck and has a rusted out bed, has the potential to have the frame stretched and another brush bed put on it and continue to use the cab and chassis for the replacement brush truck. We did that the last time. It cut probably $125,000 to $150,000 truck down to a $57,000 truck. And I don't know if you all know how we picked up brush prior to that brush truck, but it is a whole lot better than what we were doing before. It was the backhoe and a dump truck doing it. And so we continue to find ways to try to extend the life of the equipment and to try to get as much out of it. It's like the chief's fleet plan with police cars, you know. When I first came here, we had cars breaking down. They couldn't even take inmates to jail without having to call another unit and transfer an inmate. And so, you know, we started the fleet plan, and I think it's working efficiently. And we're keeping all the officers on the road. We don't have car issues where we're trying to shuffle and figure out how do we keep them on the road. And we keep trying to find ways to get more money out of those and sell used equipment and get as much return as we can, which is what we're fixing to do with air bottles. And gov deals, when I came here, we weren't using that. We were letting cars roll off at on-site auctions for $300 and $400. When we started using gov deals, our percentage of return on surplus equipment was about 335%. Since we started using that in the last 8 years, we've made about $350,000 on surplus equipment.
Hell, we always brag on you about how well you do in the deal search. I just have a question. Is that the entire cost of the garbage truck, or is that just an installment?
Nope, that's the entire cost.
Okay,
and
I'm used to getting things now in larger numbers, and I just know that can't be right.
That's an
That
early
has
estimate.
to just be, okay.
We estimated it would probably be a little bit less than that, but that's a conservative estimate.
Okay.
Keith, on the fire department equipment repair, that dollar amount there, what equipment, we're getting a new truck and all new equipment with it. What are we estimating that's gonna repair?
We're looking to purchase that second round of 10 turnout gears and 3 SCBAs, and then you have equipment maintenance for the old equipment, like the Cascade system has to be certified every year. You've got a generator at the fire hall that has to be maintained and kept up. You've got generators, air fans, chainsaws, things of that nature that fall in the equipment repair.
Okay,
The intent is that number should go down after we get that turnout gear caught up, and I can probably shave that number down some anyway. I cut 25,000 off of it already, and I think I could cut another 10 to 15 pretty easy.
well, I just wanted people to know them numbers, what it was
Yeah.
going for.
And there's
That's a huge number.
There's a lot of equipment there, and again, you're looking at about another $52,000 turnout gear, masks buy, and then we should be caught up, and then the rest of it's just going to be little stuff.
Well, if we don't feel comfortable with this, and we have another budget at our next meeting, that's going to be, May, and then we wouldn't be able to have it approved until second reading, so that would be
And
June, and
yes.
that's past the deadline, correct?
Yes. Well, it's not past the deadline, but
But,
it puts me
well,
tight trying to get it all
right.
together. I think Mr. Rader said we could pass it tonight, make any changes before second reading, and finalize it next month. And then if there's still issues and we have to push it, we would be at least a little bit closer.
Okay. I think that'd be more what I would be inclined to do, but,
That's what I'm inclined to do too.
okay.
If you have to, it could be a special call meeting, couldn't it?
We can. They have to be 2 weeks apart, and I try to avoid that. I'd rather have you all here on a regular night and just get it done ahead of time. And the sooner I can get this behind us, then we start prepping for the audit again, because that's approaching very quickly too. So
They
year
just
end.
left.
I know.
How
They'll
can
be
it
right back too.
time-hard?
We've put them an office in downstairs. They're here enough now.
Good, good. Keep them in that hot little closet down there where we have extra stuff.
We turn the heat up, and Chief keeps giving
There
them
you
coffee
go.
so they don't stay in there as long.
Okay. All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and move then that we, approve first reading of ordinance 663-21, adopting the budget for fiscal year 21-22, with the tax rate to be set as returned with the certified tax rate. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I'm gonna give this one,
You
Ms.
got your-
Hawkins. Okay. Ms. Flatt?
Mayor Fowler,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Graves,
A weak yes.
Honorable Hawkins,
Yes.
Honorable Hill.
Yes.
Okay. Item number 10. Consider approval to declare a surplus 66 aluminum and 4 steel air bottles from the fire department. I guess these are no longer, I know we have a filling station down there, but these are unable to be.
They're no longer able to be certified, so they're beyond serviceable life, but with them all being aluminum and steel, somebody would find value in them, so I'll find somebody to sell them to.
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Hill and Mr. Bilbrey, Ms. Flatt?
Mayor Fowler,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Graves,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins,
Yes.
Honorable Hill.
Yes.
Okay. Item number 11, consider approval to authorize the city administrator to purchase Project Liberty for an amount not to exceed, and there we go with a fill in the blank. I know it behooves us to give Mr. Morrison some authority on to make that purchase if it comes available. And what I had thought about doing is, instead of, you can set an amount and you can say not greater than, or you can set an amount and if there is a if another price is not that, then he could consult, you know, with us or one of us or something to go ahead and, if he needs to, make that purchase. Mr. Morrison, do you have a preference how it would work?
If we do a not to exceed amount and then set that I consult maybe with the mayor or the vice mayor, if something was to happen, that would give two of us the authority to look at this and not just be relying on one person, so that you don't yell at me for not calling each of you. So if I had somebody else to consult with, that would make me feel better.
Sure, broad shoulders, right, Mr. Bilbrey? Anybody have an amount? Go ahead.
Do we have to set an amount? Can we just say the three of y'all and delegate this task to the three of y'all and go from there?
We're all looking at you, Mr. Rader.
Can't delegate an amount like that, but you can delegate the authority for Mr. Morrison to enter into a contract in consultation with the mayor, subject to eventual approval by the council. So you authorize them to negotiate with the mayor. You all come to a price with the instructions to bring it back to the council for final approval, and that's the best way to do that. So you have unlimited authority to negotiate. You can sign a contingency contract, and then the council has to ultimately ratify that. And most purchasers, most sellers will work with you on that kind of arrangement.
Okay.
Danny just made my motion,
And
but I'll restate it.
thank you.
Motion to approve, authorize Keith to enter into the negotiation for this project with consultation with the mayor during the negotiations with final approval back to the council.
All right. Did you get all that, Ms. Flatt? Okay. That's the motion.
Second.
Ms. Hawkins. Ms. Flatt?
Mayor Fowler,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Graves,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins,
Yes.
Honorable Hill.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Morrison. As if you haven't told us enough, we're going to call on you and see if you have anything that we didn't ask you about that you want to tell us.
The May 1st Mingle Market will be back at City Hall. We did this the first Saturday in April, and we think that was a successful event. On June 4th and 5th, we are planning a citywide yard sale in which we are asking all residents of Allgood who wish to participate to put out a yard sale. They will not be required to get a permit, will not count against their 3 for the year, so this is a freebie with the intent that the city of Allgood becomes a citywide yard sale, and you can come shop all day here if you wish to do so. We think this is a great opportunity for us to continue to expand events in the city, and we just keep trying to find other ways to do that. Of course, the July 4th event is scheduled for July the 3rd, and with COVID restrictions starting to loosen up a little, we anticipate that that event will be back inside the park and will be a larger scale in attendance event for people to come to. Chief, do you have anything?
Just a couple things. We're bringing in the University of Tennessee in October for crime scene training. We'll go to all the agencies in Oklahoma. It'll be here, it's at no cost. It's also expected down on my training budget. I've seen a couple of people it's free and want to travel. And we'd like to welcome all of y'all to go down to the city garage. We've got a new lift that we just picked up from the military. It goes 130 feet up in the air. I will wait at you from the ground if you want to look at it.
Well, I had a question. I'm glad you brought that up. Because for some reason, I thought that we had purchased a lift and we were going to start doing our own maintenance work on vehicles. Did I just dream that? That's not what? It didn't go in at the garage or what?
It's there, and we are using it.
Because, no offense, but I keep seeing checks that
do.
need to be signed for vehicle maintenance, and
So we had to change that.
smoke
while
kind of goes this way when I hit one of those, when I'm thinking, we just bought a lift. you
Chris
know.
Henry was doing all of the maintenance, and he went out on military leave, and with a short-handed at the Public Works garage, we were unable to continue that. So when he returns in June and we get all of our staff back up and running, we will return to maintenancing at the shop again.
Okay.
We are still using
you.
it and doing Public Works vehicle maintenance, but we haven't been able to keep up with the police. Chief
Okay.
puts a little more mileage on his cars than we do.
Well, I don't begrudge that at all. I'm glad. We like to see them on the road. So I just had that question. I'm like, wait a minute. No, I'll just ask you that after a while. We do have a guest with us this evening. Does that have all the department heads? Mr. Lane, do you have anything that you need or want of us? Or okay, this is the portion of, and I didn't mean to cut you off, Mr. Morrison. If there's something else.
No, I'm finished.
Okay. We have Mr. David Darnell with us, and you have come on an evening when council has gone a little bit longer than we anticipate, but we're happy to have you with us. And if you'd like to stand, and I didn't know if you wanted to make a few remarks to us while you were here, or Mr. Darnell is with the Chamber.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. So David Darnell, I'm the Director of Investor Relations for the Highlands Economic Partnership. We're, you could say, a subsidiary of the Chamber of Commerce here in Putnam County. We are a nonprofit, and we focus specifically on economic development, workforce development, and education, and legislative advocacy for Putnam, Overton, White, and Jackson counties. You guys, as you know, are an investor in the Highlands, so I just wanted to be a face here. I'm happy to hang around afterwards to answer any questions that you may have cards for you. If you ever need to reach out and have any questions, I probably don't have the answers, but I can certainly put you in touch with the people that do have the answers. And it's just a privilege to be here with you all. And again, I'll hang around afterwards to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Now, if there are any citizens that would like to address the council, or are there any concerns or anything anybody wants to? Yes, is this Mr. Ben? Mr. Perrin, all right. Well, we're glad to have you. I think. Let me wait till you hear what you say. No, we're tickled to have you.
I'm sure you are. Well, I'll start off today with, I'd like to thank the Allgood Police Department and Dale. Found an interesting statistic. Of course, you know I live on Cooper Road. During COVID, I really was disturbed by the speeding rates. They absolutely went up. And of course, I'm finding out so did the death rates in traffic around the entire country. But I had turned the system off to make some changes, and life gets in the way. I have other priorities. And waited about 3 months, because I know about every 3 months the system needs it. You got to do changes for the people, or they zone out. So my prediction was that when we came back online, that the speeding rates would have returned. Interesting thing though is my neighbors came around, and there's a few developments in the neighborhood, and they tell me that the Allgood Police Department's presence is felt. Okay, and I was also reading an editorial, and I'd like to have a shout out to the lady that lives on Virginia Street. I know the street well. And her question was that she put up you remember the, this is not a racetrack sign? Yeah, well, she put that up, and she says, I swear people are going faster. And I just want her to know, statistically, 20% of the people will actually go faster, okay? That is just human beings. But even there, she credited the police department, with trying to do some enforcement. Now, I know that all the resources can't go to that. I know that Cooper Road can't be the only road. I accept that. I know I can hear the budget and all of that stuff. And Luke will tell you that we have a friendly disagreement. I personally think it's PSA. I know that there's nothing to be enforced, but I gladly will shame anybody, okay? So, first thing I'd like to bring up is honor and policing yourself. And the last time I was here, we identified Mercedes-Benz, black Mercedes. Turned out that was the owner of the Allgood drugstore. Now I've clocked that person at 54 miles an hour. And he routinely goes to work, and we all know where he lives. He's no more than half a mile away, and he routinely goes to work at 45 miles an hour. I've talked to his wife, and once again, I caught him again. The system doesn't stay up a long time, and I caught him again. Now that man apologized to me the first time, and I took him for his apology. That's all I want. I don't want anybody to get hurt. I don't want anybody to get arrested. I just want you people to slow down. And I think that 45 miles an hour on Cooper Road is excessive. And I think that 50 miles an hour is out of control, okay? This is not what you should be doing in a neighborhood. But for the last, I don't want to exaggerate, but it'd be easy to say, the last 6 months, ever since the system went up, we've been having trouble with a couple of Mustangs. And it got a little confusing because it was the same GT, but it was different colors, okay? So I get reports from neighbors. And so I decided, after we had a problem in our neighborhood with young man ringing doorbells at 5 o'clock in the morning, that I would open up the camera system to the neighbors. And that turned out to be a pretty good development, so I didn't have to do the work of trying to find these people, because again, Luke and I know you need to have the exact time of whenever it happened. Otherwise, you're spending hours like in the All Good Drugstore robbery, going over and over and over, trying to find what exactly you're looking for. And one of my neighbors managed to, because I'm not paying attention either. So you're going to go in front of my house and put on a whole shot or do whatever you're going to do. This does not impress me. I've been through worse harassment in my lifetime. Okay, I figure if you're going to waste your time to do that, then I've obviously hit home. Now, however, you're disturbing the rest of the neighborhood. So when they had access to those cameras, since you make the ability of stopping in front of my house, that makes your license plate very clear. So we have 3 Mustangs, GT Mustangs, and we have them, they also have enough money to buy another brand new Mustang, so that we have them in various Mustangs. But the interesting thing, well, the first problem I want to bring up is noise and the noise ordinance. So I've instituted bringing in the ordinances, examples from MTAS, and we need a definable noise ordinance. The vehicles, particularly the trucks, if you live in my neighborhood, they're awful loud. We had a full semi come down our street early in the morning, get caught in the corner, and he had straight pipes, okay, which is ridiculous in a neighborhood. So that's the first problem. Second problem is the misuse of E-plates. And it turns out that every one of those Mustangs was sitting on an E-plate. And I'm sure this has nothing to do with the city, but I'd like to be directed to who to talk to about the abuse of E-plates. I have a little saying, and that is God talks to me. And he doesn't talk to me in a burning bush. He says, shut up and watch what's going on. And I happened to be in Cookville one day, and there was a Charger, a white Charger. And I remember a white Charger. Remember the white Charger doing 81 miles an hour? Not that I know that it was that Charger. I just happened to be in Cookville, and a Charger decided to do his thing with his car. I mean, it's a very nice car. I want to make some noise with it and squeal the tires and race it and all of that. That's fine, but it just hit me that that was an E-plate. What does E-plate what is it significant of? And it turns out that that plate, that when you have that plate, you will not get pulled over for speeding. And those people know that. And that there are people who are qualified for it, sheriffs, police people, and EMTs. But that I'm suspicious that there's loopholes in that. So I have 3 vehicles, all GT Mustangs, all doing this for about 6 months. I worked with Dale earlier on it, and I am sure that they got a word to the wise. I'm sure the word got back to them because that all curtailed. And then the last month or 2 or 3, it picked up again with it getting a few weeks ago excessive. Now here's the problem. Our attorney will tell you there's nothing I can do about it. I can videotape it, I can witness it, I can have witnesses, but the police can't do anything about it. I don't know why they want video then. But what happens is, and I had one officer bring this up, that the citizens should bring it directly up to those people, the offending people. And I said, you aren't actually telling people that. And I want to make sure I categorically say that that'll never go good, okay? Chances are it's going to be confrontational. Nobody ever says, I'm sorry, I'm at fault, I won't do it again, unless, of course, they need something from you, like, the All Good Drugstore, okay? Then there's got an apology. You want to apologize to me? I take you as an honorable person. That means don't do it again. So, my hands are tied, but this one incident now brings me to another place, and that's the noise levels, and that's also the abuse of E-plates. But again, I want to thank the All Good Police, and I want to, like I said, shout out to the lady on Virginia Street. Her street is just as important as mine, and I'll let you know that I'm pretty sure I'm guilty of blowing through at least one of the stop signs when I first came here, because there's a bunch of stop signs. And anybody who wants to speed through that is crazy, because one of these days you are going to get sideswiped. So, anyway, thank you all. Appreciate it. Okay.
Dale, do we have a noise ordinance? Or how would you go about, enforcing, because I don't disagree with Mr. Perrin. I mean, there are some loud vehicles, and do we have a mechanism of enforcement?
Where we live, I can hear them on Cooper, and I can hear them going down Oak Walls.
Probably Qualls than where you are.
Right, and we do have a noise ordinance. We use it like the barking dog complaint. Normally, we would try to warn once, unless it's a traffic issue. The E-tags, I responded back to him. That's not handled by the city. That's handled by the clerk's office. That could be doctors, nurses, EMTs, anybody that has some type of emergency background can get those. I personally wouldn't have them on my car, but some people do.
But there's no rule that we give anyone lenience because they have an E-tag, correct?
Absolutely not, unless they're responding to an emergency. No.
I mean, I think that's just for, you can only speak for your department, obviously. You can't speak for anyone outside of here, any other jurisdictions, obviously.
One of the vehicles he's talking about, we were able to find 2 of the 3. Firefighter out of Wilson County is where he's from.
First of all, I'd like to thank the council for all the hard work they're doing. I especially like to thank our city administrator, Keith. I have been through the budget wars. I know what he's going through. The only thing I would like the council to do is, when you're looking at what Keith, when he prioritized the stuff, what's going to be the impact on the next year and the following year? Because sometimes it's worth it to spend the money up front, and then your maintenance or your upkeep will drop dramatically. So I would like for you guys to keep that in mind. I realize that when you dip into your reserve, that gets a little queasy, and I understand that. But I would like for you guys to keep that in mind. But I know Keith will give you, what you need so that you can make the decision. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Well, I think that we would all, I think I can speak for all of us in saying that we're here to serve our citizens. And I know that we have needs in a lot of places that I would like to see a lot more money go to, rather than, I'd like to see a lot more streets get paved or striped, or I would really love to see sewer. That won't happen in my lifetime. But we're just going to say, if we like what our likes are, that would be one of my likes. I'd like to see lots of sidewalks. I would like to see quality of life issues addressed that our citizens are paying taxes for. But I know also too that quality of life is that they want a park. They want to see it developed. They want their trash picked up on time. They want police when they need police, and firemen to have, firefighters to have the proper equipment. And so it's really a balancing act. And I feel for him in the job that he has to do in trying to please everyone, because you can't. You can just do the best you can do. And I think that we're going to give it thoughtful consideration, and we will try to do the best that we can and get the most, as they say, bang for the buck for our citizens. I want everyone to know, I know that we've been through at least 1 or 2 rounds probably of brush pickup. And we still are seeing a number of brush, or number of homes that have brush out in front of them. we are not through with that process, are we, Mr. Morrison? We're going to continue to pick that up as we can.
We are. So we are picking up brush every single day. We have completed one complete sweep of the town and about halfway through the second sweep. So we're hoping in the next couple of weeks to get all of that picked up from the homes. Of course, with spring cleaning, that has brought out more brush. And we have staged it at the back of the park and at the shop until I'm almost out of space. So once we get everybody caught up, we've got to start hauling it to the landfill, and that's probably going to be 50 or 100 loads or better. So we're going to be working on brush for a while.
Okay.
But we're also working with FEMA to try to recover some of that expense because it's a lot of fuel, a lot of manpower. And so we're continuing to try to chip away at that as best we can while still maintaining all of the other services too.
I know we have asked people to try to get it into 6-foot lengths, but I know, or 6-foot pieces. I know that there are some families who don't have access to chainsaws or getting it cut to a 6-foot length. Are we only, are we restrained with the equipment that we have now that we can't get a larger piece, or that's just what we would comfortably like to see?
It's harder to load when it gets much bigger. It gets more difficult to get on the truck, and I can't get as much on it. If there are people who are having trouble, if they'll reach out to us, we have some resources that we can call that try to help us when we have issues like that. And so if anybody's having a lot of trouble, if they'll give us a call, we'll try to put them in touch with someone that can help them. So.
Does anybody have anything else? I see lots of heads nodding no, so, or shaking their head no, so pardon. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
Sitting here listening to all this address. I hope there's something you can do to help us. You already have. My name is Fran Gibson, and we moved from Louisville about 20 years ago and lived out in Jackson County and milked my goats for many years. And we've moved in with my daughter over on Gibbons Road, which is the lonely, abandoned, unwanted stretch of about 3/4 of a mile to a mile around toward the high school. I'm not even going to touch the subject of speeding. If we could get the state police in there and cordon the thing off, we're getting drag racing children. We're still getting semis. I went and talked to the mayor of Putnam County last year, and he posted no through traffic for trucks. But unfortunately, in a way, he had to post it at the 111 overpass because Allgood comes up to that point. We had a truck from Texas last year who was directed into that area by GPS, and he ended up wedged trying to make a turn down to the warehouse area. And he ended up wedged between 2 natural gas pipeline stations there on the road, on Gibbons Road. And I don't know if you all came and helped or the state police came and helped, but they finally got it straightened out, tore up the neighbor's yard. He was within 10 feet of danger. You can imagine if he'd have hit 1 or 2 of those. We're still getting through traffic from Quinlan Lake from 111. And you all have that posted, but it's not sufficient. Because if they get in there, they can't get out without going on a posted area, either through your city or down Gibbons Road. And once they get in there, they'll be like the guy from Texas. He was in a lot of trouble. And we're in trouble over there. We've got drag racing kids, adults and children from the high school. Zoop, zoop. I clocked one man when I finally caught up with him over by the school, and he informed me that he was going 75 miles an hour down Gibbons. What I'd like to ask would be relatively inexpensive at either on the, where you enter into Quinlan Lake from 111, have the state post that there's no access, it's all posted. To keep the trucks out of there in the first place, or else ask you all kindly to put up a bigger sign. Although I don't know if it's gonna help since there's no way out from up there at Quinlan Lake. And I don't know who is responsible for Shag Rag and Bowser, but the county posted Gibbons, you know, where it turns into county. But they're still turning out of the warehouse. Is that yours? Is that all goods, or is it the county? Is it Cookville?
It's the city of Cookville, yes, ma'am.
Well, I'm gonna have to pay a visit to them, but we love living here.
I think they're meeting this coming Thursday night.
But you all are really contending with a difficult situation. There are no sidewalks. You got bicycle riders, you've got elderly people walking. You know, it's changing so fast. I know you all are feeling overwhelmed by everything. But if you could put a sign or get a sign or a bigger sign or say, don't come in here, please stay out of this road because you can't go anywhere. The only other thing is stand down there and throw rocks at them if they come through, which I don't want to do. But that's what I came to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fran. We appreciate it.
We appreciate you all.
I have that date right, Mr. Rager, it is Thursday. That's what I have. I just want to share. All right, not hearing anything else, I'm going to make a motion that we adjourn. If anybody disagrees, then you can stay. Okay.